Welcome back to a brand new episode for the I Chose This Life series. Today you are going to be hearing a conversation I had with Leann Parker. Leann is an interior designer and the founder of West 11 Lane, which is an award-winning design studio that specializes in contemporary design with a bright, airy California coastal feel. As a self-proclaimed introvert and homebody, she insists that everyone should fall completely in love with their home. Leann and I are both here in San Diego, and I cannot wait to share this conversation with you. You're going to learn so much from her, and she's made her mark on homes from Florida to Maine and Massachusetts, and of course here in Southern California, and most recently she's been in talks with a few people you might know, so stay tuned, and I hope you guys like this episode. Leann, are you here?
I'm here.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the Happy Workaholic podcast. I've been such a fan of your work. I've been following you on social media. I think that's how I came across your name. Being in Southern California, I came across your feed. I was so impressed, and I think I just slid into your DMs. I was like, you need to be on my show.
Thank you, Kelly.
And I feel like you just have such an amazing talent. And I love looking at all of your work that you put together, your stories. I really enjoy watching your stories because you really share, what goes into a hectic day of designing in the world of interior design. And I wanted to really share your work and your talents with my audience. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your super busy schedule to be here. So how did you get started in your design career?
That's a great question. So, back in 2012, I moved out here from Massachusetts, and since then, I think, have moved about 8 times over the course of 6 years.
You sound like me.
So, yeah, I mean, it's so easy to do because there's so many great places in San Diego County to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's very tempting to kind of try them all, but I kind of got practice with putting together a home really quickly. And honestly, especially on a budget, because I think when you're moving around a lot, you definitely don't necessarily invest in a lot of, long-term pieces or really expensive pieces, because it's just as easy to kind of start over every time, start fresh with new stuff. So yeah, I was practicing a little bit with that. I was working in the fitness industry. And I've just always been a creative person. I've always kind of known deep down that I wanted to have my own business. And once we had our son, I decided that even though I had thought I was going to go back to my corporate job, it was maybe time for me to look at doing something on my own. So that's kind of when it was born.
I love that. That's such a great story. I have so many friends and listeners that are moms, and they can really appreciate you doing that with your career, but as at the same time having a budget. I'm sure a lot of people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say absolutely. I mean, and I think too, there's a certain art to making a place look really more on the high end side and really well styled, even when it's, using lower cost pieces. Since now I'm working with clients who have much larger budgets than we had at the time. So that actually was an interesting challenge to kind of shift my mindset and not, hold on to my own personal budget or my own beliefs in, what a certain piece should cost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been interesting, but I'm getting the hang of it now.
Now, how do you how do you prepare for your day, being a mom, having a career? How does that work out for you? Are you really strategic in planning your week out? Do you just kind of go with the flow? What's your schedule like?
That's a good question. So I always want to be that person that's very rigid and regimented, but I think there's a certain part of motherhood that kind of can't be that way because you just kind of never know where your child or children are at. And also I think just being a creative person, I think it's much more fluid and more about, how you feel or, what like where you're most inspired. Like, obviously when you're running a business, there's a multitude of different tasks that need to get done. Generally speaking, what the major priorities should be. Like yesterday I had a photo shoot for one of my projects, so I obviously know, there's an overarching plan and what I need to get done, and, what goes into that. But, sometimes when I'm sort of in process with, I'm between client meetings or, I'm in the middle of working on a design, which I can work on over the course of, say, 10 weeks or what have you, and there's a little bit more freedom there. So, I think a lot of times I just kind of go by feel, but I have my, top 3 priorities of what I want to get done for the next day kind of thing.
Now, what do you think your biggest obstacle has been on this new journey and having your career?
I definitely think just having to juggle I like to say the masculine side of me and the feminine side of me. I've always been a really driven person, and I love to achieve things. And that's not to say that being a mom isn't achieving something or it isn't the most important job. Of course it is. But I think that just kind of having to juggle the pull of both and, which is more important, just making sure that I'm doing a good job on both facets of my life has definitely been a challenge. And also just juggling all of this with prioritizing my relationship with my husband too. I think that sometimes you just find when you're juggling a lot of balls in the air, something always ends up dropping, unfortunately. So I think that, it's definitely been the biggest challenge to try to work in date nights and just prioritizing my marriage.
Now, when you're not doing all of that and it's time for some me time, are you a bubble bath person? Are you one that likes to meditate, do yoga? Like, what are some of your favorite self-care routines that you like to enjoy?
I'm that person that just leaves the house at night. I love to walk around. I don't do well sitting still. Like, I used to always love the idea of a bubble bath, but I would get in and just sit there and be like, oh my gosh, I can't just sit here. I have to get out.
I get so antsy too. I bring all of my electronics to the side.
Yeah, I feel like I should be doing or accomplishing something at the same time, but so I'm that girl that just kind of goes out and sniffs candles and touches soft blankets and goes to Hobby Lobby and just like I'm always kind of in the back of my mind working on whatever project I have going also. And I think that's another reason why I got into design as well, is because I couldn't just keep moving and buying new stuff all the time. It was getting ridiculous. Like, I'm not going to keep refurnishing our master bedroom. So I figured it was time to kind of start doing this for other people. And I used to be big into weightlifting, honestly. I need to get back into that. I think since I've become a mom, I've definitely lean more towards like the stroller walk, that kind of activity. But I do miss lifting a lot, and I do actually have started to meditate and do, I guess just like a lot of, not like self-help, but learning about manifestation and, switching my mindset around money and things like that. I find that really interesting.
I know I'm diving more into that this year myself, like more personal development in exactly that particular area you just mentioned. Also, I think there's a brand new Hobby Lobby that just opened in our area.
Oh, is it the one in Oceanside?
I think so, because one of my good friends is in Encinitas Ranch, and she wanted me to go with her. And I just came back from Vegas, and I've been here a year now, which is so insane. And they're everywhere there. So I said, I don't need to go to Hobby Lobby. I already know what it is. you get sucked in.
Yeah, they have some cute stuff.
I know, they really do. Tell me about your award that you received from Houzz.
Yeah, so I was recognized by Houzz for service. I have a 5-star review there, and for me, obviously, customer service is a top priority, and I just always want to make sure that my clients are comfortable with me and I'm meeting all their needs and obviously making a fast improvement in their lives. So yeah, it was incredible to me. I mean, since my business is really young, and Houzz is obviously a really large organization. They're here in San Diego. And it was a great honor.
That's so amazing. And I really believe in service. I've said that since day one. I pride myself on providing the best possible service to my clients. And I think that for me, just growing up working in the restaurant industry, like really helped instill those behaviors in me and then I got into luxury travel. So that kind of like upped it to like the 10th degree. But that's so amazing. Like, congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, what advice would you give somebody that's looking to get into your career, into interior design? What would you tell them? I'm sure people message you on Instagram.
What did you say?
I'm sure people message you on Instagram.
Yeah, I've definitely had some people, or I'll hop on the phone with them and, spend an hour and kind of go through what it entails, because a lot of people initially are like, wow, your job seems so fun, or wow, it's just forget the word. Sorry, my son keeps trying to come into my room.
That's okay.
It's my husband. Hold on. It looks so glamorous because, there's photo shoots and we're doing branding shoots, and it's just so fun to, go shopping and things like that. But truth be told, there's so much that goes into what I do. And I've been in a lot of different industries, and I would say by far this is probably the most challenging and the hardest. So just be prepared to work really hard. It's very physical. It's very mentally exhausting. Just being a creative, it takes so much out of you. It's almost like a physical pull. It's almost like, I feel like almost physical pain inside my body when I'm creating something, which probably sounds really weird, but it's almost like a piece of me is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just learn as much as you can, and really just be focused on what your clients are telling you, because really the designs that you create are an expression of them, and something that they need to live with and be happy with. So just be a really good listener, be prepared to work, and keep learning. I don't know. It's a lot of continuous learning.
I can definitely understand that aspect. Actually, when I was a personal assistant, I had one of my jobs was to manage a new condo. It was about 8,000 square feet. And
wow.
I was managing the entire project. And I thought it was going to be like doing my PA work while I was there. However, I was in charge, and it was on a private island in Miami. So I was in charge of clearing everybody over as the workers, clearing all the housekeeping, making sure everybody was doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then managing all the workers coming in for each specific project and basically following them around. And like, it was so intense. And I thought I was going to be the creative project worker. I'm like, oh no, this is like 16-hour days I'm pulling. It was insane.
Yeah, exactly. When you're working with construction, there's so many moving parts, and you're trying to stay on budget. You're trying to stay, within the appropriate timeline, and there's things that always go wrong with every project. So you're managing that and just problem solving. It's a ton.
That's what it is. Like major problem solving. I remember when the tech stuff started coming in, the phones, the Wi-Fi, the cables. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times something went wrong just with something technical because of how high end it was. I'm like, can't we just get an old school dish? I just remember those days, and oh my gosh, it was insane. So what projects are you currently working on?
I just finished up a multi-room project in Carlsbad, and I'm currently working on another one here in Carlsbad as well. So yeah, I was working on a remodel up in LA, but that was basically for selecting finishes. So we're kind of past that phase right now, and it's just under construction. So.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Now, are you a morning person? When are you the most productive?
I feel like there's just a certain, I think maybe like 10 o'clock in the morning when I really start to wake up.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a morning person. I'm a major coffee person, and I feel like the afternoons are probably my prime time.
When the coffee's kicked in.
Stay up late. What did you say?
When the coffee's kicked in.
Exactly. Yeah, they say that once you're awake, I think the first 3 hours of the day are really the best to work in. But I feel like garbage, if I'm being honest. During that time, I kind of have to wait a little bit longer. But
I'm really good in the morning. I'm kind of the opposite, but lately I've been pulling really late nights. So when I wake up in the morning, like I just should never talk to anyone. And I'm trying to, like, my best friend called me this morning. She's like, "Are you on your way?" I'm like, "Why are you calling me?" Yes, I'm on the way. But I only had 2 sips of coffee, so like that's not my fault. But I'm trying something new where I wake up in the morning, I'm in PB, so I'm 5 minutes from the beach. I go to the beach, do my morning workout, coffee first, obviously, and then come back and then take a shower. And I'm trying not to take any calls or do anything with clients until noon. That's starting next week. That's my new thing. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
Yeah. I just feel like it's better for everyone. So for me, for my workout? Work or workout?
What do you tackle for your business too?
Oh, for my business, I do my stuff before I talk to anybody. So I prepare my content. I pitch brands for podcast commercials. I talk to guests that are coming on board. I talk to future assistants that I might need to bring on. I have 2 big projects that I'm working on right now that are a couple months of work a piece. And the only time, to be honest with you, I have time to work on that lately is just like a couple hours, like 1.5 if I'm lucky in the morning. And that's just preparing for it to film all next month. So I just try to prep my own stuff. And then the whole entire rest of the day is with my clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't handle any of my own stuff. So that's kind of becoming a problem. So I have to, allow myself more time. So I'm getting up earlier. So I'm trying to go to bed earlier as well. But then, once I start.
I really need to shift to that.
Yeah, it's really hard. And I started getting sucked into the Housewives again. And so then I would be up all night watching my shows. And then I wasn't doing, like, in a really good week, I'll do my hypnosis at night because the meditation at night just, like, doesn't work for me. And just, like, I'm lying in bed and I think about, like, I almost feel guilty, like how you are when you take a bubble bath. Like, you just can't do it. I'm lying in bed. I'm like, I could be up and work till, like, 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'm fine. I'll get 4 more hours work done. Like, I'm thinking of all these things. My wheels are spinning. I'm lying in bed. I'm like, just go to sleep. So...
Right.
I put this hypnosis app on, and it doesn't even go 5 minutes, and I'm out cold.
Oh, wow.
I love it. I'm obsessed with it. So that is the routine I'm trying to get back into for at night so that I can get up in the morning. And then I just, today was day 17 of this 21-day meditation that Oprah and Deepak Chopra were doing. And it's really nice. And it's about 20 minutes, and it's really calming. I need calm. I need a lot of calm in my life. So that I can function throughout my day. So that's why going to the beach in the morning. Excuse me.
I can really, having a toddler.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I really appreciate.
And you just have one, right?
Just one. Yep.
Just one time. And
he's very active.
I don't know how you do it. All my friends that are moms, I don't know how they do it. I give you guys so much credit.
Yep, it's a big life adjustment, that's for sure. That's the understatement of the century, but
oh my gosh, yeah, I'm adopting and like
everything because if you when you own a business, it's like a child anyway. So
yeah,
it's like having 2 kids for me.
Exactly. I'm adopting in it'll probably be 2 years. I'm starting the classes in a couple months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
oh my gosh,
I'm super excited about that. But it's gonna definitely
That's really exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a journey and a job. So I'm excited though. And then, a lot of my friends are asking like, oh, how old are you going to request? And I'm like, I don't really care, but I prefer toddler and above. So I'm hoping some of my other friends will have some babies soon so that we can all have the kids at the same age. That's my master plan.
Awesome.
I'm like, mine's already a toddler. See how that all worked out perfect. Now,
Aww.
When do you think that you had, I ask all my guests this, I chose this life moment, when you were in the middle of a rebuild or you were designing something and it came out flawless, or you had like the most incredible client, or you just had like the most successful day ever, When was it
Mhm.
where you were just like, this is why I chose to do this?
That's a great question.
Dun, dun, dun,
There's been so many
dun.
of those moments. There's been so many of those moments. It's like I just feel like as soon as I started that it was easy. And I don't mean easy in that it didn't take a lot of work, but it was just every part was enjoyable and I could work all day and up until 2 a.m, day after day after day. Just kind of when I turned around and realized that's what was happening, and there was no tension around it, and I just couldn't wait till the next day, to start work again. I think that was the moment.
Yeah, you just have that feeling in your gut, like you're just so excited to like create more.
Yeah, and you're just in the right place. You just know. It comes out so naturally. And then my close second would be when High Noon Entertainment reached out to me, and then I was like, okay, it's not just me thinking that I'm good at this. Other people are recognizing, so that was a great moment for me.
That's amazing. Now, in your free time, because I know you're not so busy, what do you and your family do on your free time? Like, are there certain places in San Diego that you love?
Yeah, I
Hanging
just
at
took
home?
my son to Legoland with a friend of mine, and she has a son who is a couple months younger than my son, and that was awesome. It's right here in our town, here in Carlsbad. I like to take him to the zoo. We go to aquariums. I take him to the beach. We actually live right near a bike path and right near the beach, so it's really great. He can scoot around and get outside. We go to a lot of playgrounds. And I think we just like to together kind of go out, and I like to try out different restaurants. So I know I'm a little biased, but I think we have the best food here. So
I know. I was a friend of mine that's here. She actually had I think she still has a tour company, and they used to do things like that in the Gas Lamp, and then kind of branched out, and then she had twins. And I think she's still doing some kind of food tours like that, but I feel like more should exist.
I think so too. Actually, years ago when I was living in PB myself, my roommate wanted to start one of those businesses too, but I don't think she ever did. But it's a great idea.
Yeah, and there's just for the locals alone. Do you know what I did actually? The other day I was out of stevia for my coffee, so that's like not a good morning at all. And I had to leave the house without caffeine. And I was like, come on. And so I know you're like, I would never. I should make you a batch of my espresso cubes. Do you drink hot or iced coffee?
Oh, shoot. I drink both.
Yeah, espresso cubes in your iced coffee will change your life. Like when you need a little pick me up, that will be your best friend. So I didn't have my espresso cubes. I ran out of stevia. I literally had just enough almond milk to like be okay with the coffee. And then I was like, come on. And it was Monday. I barely had a voice. And Monday's the day I take off that I won't talk to anyone because I just need to like rest my voice and just like do a lot of my stuff. And so long story short, I go to one of the little coffee shops that's actually on Cass Street. Do you remember Cass Street?
Yeah.
And this little hole in the wall coffee shop, and I was like, oh, I've been wanting to check that out. I'm like, perfect, today's the day. I pull up, there's somewhere to park. So that was like, oh my God, somebody's looking after me today. I found parking. I go in, I have my coffee, I sit down, and I got one of the local magazines, something else I never do. I'm like, what is today all about? Like all these firsts. So I start reading the magazine and I see this article, PB40. So I joined a Pacific Beach 40 and up like group, like this Facebook group, and they have so many people. And I actually lived here 9 years ago, and I'm on the same street as I was before. It's so crazy.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So not like I have much time to like go out and work or like meet some people, but like I know I need to make the time. So I'm like, if all these things just happened to me this morning, like I was meant to see this article. So I joined the Facebook group and I was like, oh wow. So they actually do these little food nights, like at all these just in like PB Mission Beach area, but more PB. And I was like, oh well, that's interesting. But North County, there's so many too, because that's where I was for about 8 months in Del Mar when I came back from Vegas. I was in Del Mar.
Yeah, saw that.
And then I
I didn't
decided,
realize you had left there.
yeah, I was there for like 8 months, and then I went to Mexico because I wanted to save a ton of money for the adoption and all this, and then it just didn't work out. I didn't feel like I thought I was going to feel like safe, basically. And so I came back, and then I just wanted to be within walking distance of the beach, and without spending $10,000 a month, here I am living my best life in PB.
Right.
I'm trying to actually find Solana Beach, but that's really, really hard. Especially by the design.
You're trying to find a place there?
Yeah, especially by what is it called? The design somewhere where you would go all the time.
Design district?
Yeah, design district.
Yeah, I just was there Tuesday. Wait, what's today?
I love that street. That West Elm store. And I'm sure, do you go to the West Elm outlet? My friend brings me there all the time.
Actually, I don't know where that is.
Oh my gosh, it's like in Riverside. It's an hour and a half away.
Oh, that's why. Okay, yeah. There's so much great stuff north. Even the other, oh my gosh, our design district needs a lot of help compared to the one in Orange County in LA.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Vegas too. Now they have a lot going on in that one. Have you been there?
I haven't been to the one in Vegas. I've been to Vegas a few times, but
oh yeah, you were just there a couple months ago, weren't you?
Check it out. Yeah, Las Vegas Market.
Oh yeah.
The furnishing show.
Oh my gosh, Leann, I'm so
all the trends and what's new, and yeah, it's a great time.
I know I was actually supposed to go this week for the National Association of Broadcasting, but it was just so last minute. I just couldn't handle like Vegas and coming back, like recording in between, like in a side hallway, taking conference calls, like trying to get everything in. I was like, why even try? Just wait another year. So where can everybody find you on social media?
So I'm under West 11 Lane on every single platform, and 11 is spelled out. Even I'm on YouTube, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, pretty much everywhere. Not Snapchat, but everywhere else.
I basically use Snap. I tried to use it for business for a while. Well, I was, but then I basically just use it for my friends who have kids because they love the filters. So one more thing I never asked you was why West 11 Lane? How did you come up with that name?
Yeah, it was kind of a compilation of a few different things. So this was back before I even got pregnant. We were living in Point Loma, and I was laying on my couch, and I just always knew I would have a creative business. I just wasn't exactly sure what it would be. So I was looking to have like a general name that would encompass a lot of things and just kind of, I guess, reflect an address, a home address. And then, of course, I knew I was going to be getting married, so I didn't want to use my own personal name. So at the time, we were obviously living on the West Coast. We're from the East Coast originally. Lane was because we were living on Sandcastle Lane at the time. And then 11, for some reason, it just kind of all flowed together. I liked the way it looked. I liked the way, when I spoke it out loud, it sounded. And, yeah, it was born back in 2015.
That's amazing. I can't believe I almost forgot to ask you that because I was literally telling a friend this morning about your company, and I'm like, it's West 11 Lane. Don't you just love that name? I love it.
Yeah, see, so the thing, everyone's always, the most self-conscious. And so I'm like, I went through a rebranding process when we moved back out here because we went to Maine for a year after our son was born. And I was like, I feel like I need to, make this, I don't know, a little bit more serious or something, like have interiors in the name so people know exactly what it is. And I went through 3 or 4 different branding companies, and they're, really good companies. They've worked with some of the top designers in the country, and they're like, what do you mean? We love it. I was so surprised. So I've just kept it.
Oh my God, I'm so happy because it does just flow, and it's just one of those that just sticks. So I'm so excited for everything that you have going on. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule and coming on. And I can't wait for my listeners to learn more about you. And for you guys listening, you can check out Leann on her website and all of her social channels. All of the links will be in the notes. Leann, thank you so much. I will talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Kelly. Sounds great.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you liked this episode, please share it with someone who you feel needs to hear this message. And don't forget to tag me at The Happy Workaholic on Facebook and Instagram so I can feature you on my stories. And if you have 2 minutes and listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I would love it if you could leave me a review. Those messages mean so much to us podcasters, and they really help me create more of the content that you'll love. Want to continue today's conversation? It's simple. Head to Facebook and search for the Happy Workaholic Network Facebook group. Answer the questions and you're in. For more information on myself, coaching programs, weekly newsletter, and more, visit thehappyworkaholic.com. The Happy Workaholic Podcast is part of the iHeartRadio Podcast Network. Be sure to follow the Happy Workaholic Podcast on iHeartRadio or subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope that your day continues to be happy, healthy, positive, and productive, and I'll talk to you again soon.